A good leader makes people feel good about the leader. An excellent leader makes people feel good about themselves. Inspiration creates motivation, so we can inspire people from the outside in, and then people motivate themselves with their thoughts and their feelings. I really think we have created learning environments where we are afraid of making mistakes. But if the teachers and the school principals not feel safe and secure to make mistakes, how can the students? The problem sometimes is that we are too focused on the how, and we forget sometimes to really focus on the why as well. Because the why is the meaning, that's the motivation. Believing that we are going to change the whole school system, I really believe that we are going to balance it. But to do that, we need transformational leadership.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of our fantastic interviews. Today I am here with Peter, which I actually met a few years ago back in Denmark.
Yes.
So it's now, you have been part of Europass for how long now?
2 years.
2 years and counting.
But it has been a great journey.
I'm so glad to hear. And you are the director of the Copenhagen location, is that right?
Yes, well, the director together with my wife, I would say.
Okay.
And now we are going to open up in Stockholm as well.
Okay. When are you going to open in Stockholm?
Actually here in January.
Okay.
So everything is set up, so we are ready.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great news. We keep growing. So I asked Peter to come here today with us to talk about leadership, and specifically transformational leadership, which is quite different. In which way is it different from traditional image that we may have of leadership?
I think there are so many ways of being a leader, so many theories, but I think what we see mostly is not leadership, it's management. I would like to start with a little formula, because I think if we are leading or if we are managing things, it's always about, a result. And we have to find out what is actually creating our results. And in my opinion, and it's not only me, when you study results, well, more or less, there is a common formula. Your results, my results, everybody's results is based on our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And that's what we are leading or managing. And if we only are a manager, then we are focusing on the actions, what people are doing, and we're managing that. If we are a leader, then we're also focusing on the thoughts and the feelings and, of course, the actions. And that's, for me, the biggest difference. Because when you're focusing on the thoughts and the feelings, then you're also focusing on the person and the skills and, the whole person. And that's also where you actually can motivate people. In my opinion, inspiration creates motivation, so we can inspire people from the outside in, and then people motivate themselves with their thoughts and their feelings. So we choose our own thoughts, they are creating our feelings, and then they are expressed in our actions. And transformational leadership comes from the heart. So it's very well connected with the head, the brain, and the heart. So when you transform something, then you don't go back.
When you were talking, it made me think one of the courses I have been teaching for longer in Europass is the course that is called The Child First, which focuses on Montessori education. It was very interesting to think about that when you were speaking, because in Montessori methodology, you can't teach the child. You can just modify the environment to invite certain behaviors and feelings and thoughts. So it's not about you telling the child what he has to do, but you create an environment where the child will naturally be attracted and driven by desirable behaviors. And
exactly.
Does that make sense, that connection?
Totally. If we want to control things, we're not doing this. But if we really want to create a space or a room where we have passion or motivation and another energy, then we have to create the space for it. Have to make this room very safe and secure. And the child, if it's the child, has to feel that it belongs to the group or to the community or the classroom or whatever it is. So when we feel safe and secure and when we feel this belongings, then we feel as a part of the community or the classroom or the group, and then we can contribute. And then we can talk about motivation and being passionate and all that. Because if we are not safe and secure and we don't feel we really belong, then we cannot create motivation or passion or all that. So I totally agree.
And who do you think is the ideal person in school who should be learning about leadership, transformational leadership, leadership styles, how to create an environment that fosters that type of motivation, which we cannot give motivation to people. No, but we can work to make an environment where people feel motivated.
Exactly.
And who do you think in school? Because usually we see a lot of school directors or headmasters or principals that come to leadership courses. But is it only for them?
No, not at all. You know, it should be the whole way because the teacher is leading the class. Parents are leading the kids and the school principals are leading the teachers. It should be a concept that is from the bottom up or from the top down. So it should everyone. When we're talking about transformational leadership, it doesn't mean that not every time the school principal or the headmaster, whatever it is, are the leaders. Sometimes they can also be the follower because that's the space you have created. As long as we are on the same vision and as long as we are on the same target, then you are also sometimes a follower. And you also, as a teacher, sometimes you don't know everything in the class. You just facilitate a room for this knowledge or for this topic or subject or whatever it is. And then some of the students will lead the discussion or the lesson for a few minutes or more, but then they are the leader and then you step a little bit back. But as long as you have created this room and we are on target, fine. That's also transformational leadership. It's not about controlling everything. That's management.
So if a teacher feels like it's struggling with motivation from their student side, and they have tried ways to motivate the students, carrots and behavior boards, everything they can, and it doesn't feel right, what could they try to inspire their students instead of motivating them?
Well, I think a lot of the things we're trying to do is from the outside in, and all these small things, and well, it works, but it doesn't work in the way that we would love. So I normally work with 4 phases. So in between the introduction and the production phase, there are 2 phases. And the phase after introduction is actually the phase that most people don't like, but if you skip it, then it's not transformational leadership. Dissatisfaction phase. So open up and listen, really active listening. There will always be someone that are against everything. So don't let them speak too much. Close them down, say, well, that's okay, that's what you don't like about it, but we have to go on. So if you don't have any other ideas, only the negative parts, then close it from here. Now it's room for how can we do this better? You know, how, because if we don't go through this phase, it's very difficult actually to feel that they have an ownership. It's also where the honeymoon is over, if you can say that. You give some of the control and you can lead that. Maybe you need a little bit of management as well. And when you have been through this phase, then you come to the integration phase, because then they take ownership of it. Then they start, thinking their own thoughts, creating their own feelings, and then they're much more motivated instead of you tell them what to do, and they have to do it.
And you said we usually don't like this phase 2, dissatisfaction. Why is that?
Because we lose control. So now you actually have the possibility to get it out. And they can, and the great thing about this is that it can be even better than you are thinking about it, because then you have more brains, bigger hearts, so together you can do something that is even better, what you actually thought. So it can be in the classroom, it can also be bigger, It can be a vision for the school, values, it can be together with the parents, it can be in many ways. So if you have a lesson of 45 minutes, some teachers will now think, I don't have time for that, and they're totally right. But they have a whole year. So the things that they really want to focus on this year, not only in this lesson, but the whole year, that will be very fundamental for the whole year, for all the lessons. The way we are talking about now, the transformational leadership, the 4 phases, that could be a very good tool and a concept to use.
And what do you think the biggest obstacle is for teachers? Meaning, because you said typically we go from the introduction phase to the production phase, okay? So why is that? Do you think there is an obstacle for teachers to not take the time to give the students ownership about what they are working on?
Yes, I think the control is one thing, but you actually said time. And I think many teachers is in a hurry, they have to deliver, It has to go fast, and we have this time. And so they will say time as well. And I understand.
Of course.
I definitely understand. But if you want some other results, if you want some better results, you have to do something else. So you have sometimes to think out of the box, do something that you're maybe a little out of your comfort zone. And this, I know it is working, but it's not working like this. It's not working from one second to another. But if you have the whole year and this will be fundamental for the whole school year, for the well-being, for the performance, the social skills in our class, there are some fundamentals for that.
And you work a lot in schools.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
That's where I met you.
Yeah.
So I know that you work in school with students. So you see a lot of teachers, not only in the training courses, which is a kind of separate from their everyday reality environment, but you also see them in their everyday environment.
Yes.
Do you think this focus on delivering and performance, is it more perceived or more real? Because in a lot of school systems, there is a lot of bureaucracy, there is a lot of paperwork, I would dare to say useless paperwork that teachers have to do. And of course, it's all academic results oriented. But at the same time, teachers have a lot of flexibility, which they often do not use. Do you have the same impression, or you feel like the pressure to deliver results is real?
I think it's a part of it, but I also think sometimes it's a kind of excuse, culture thing. So I definitely follow you. But I think as a teacher, then I want to go to the school principal.
Yes,
and say, they have to set this, they have to make this safe and secure. They have to make a setup where they feel safe and secure to jump out of their comfort zone or to do something new, because it can be vulnerable. You're out of your comfort zone. So if you don't have the backup, if you don't feel safe and secure in the school, that the school principal had made this setup, then it's very difficult for a teacher to do this. So I also think you are afraid of doing something wrong. School principals should definitely back this person up or this teacher up 100% so they feel safe and secure. I saw a very interesting survey about this for some years ago, and it was questioning what made them feel well. And one of the questions was, how important is it that you have one good colleague that stands up for you, that has your back, where you can be 100% honest? And it was one of the most highlighted questions in that exercise. And I think that is so needed, because if you don't have that, if you don't have this feeling that someone will stand up for you, someone has your back, and you can be 100% honest, I don't think you jump out of the comfort zone. I think you're going to do what you did yesterday and so on. But if you create this culture, and you have this person, and that should be the school principal for the teacher. And for the school principal, it should be someone
the regional manager.
Yeah. When this is set and done, then you can do it. Then you have the fundament to do it. And then you can practice transformational leadership, as we're talking about, in the classroom, from the office, wherever.
Because I do think that whatever, and I really mean whatever new approach we try, whether it's in a leadership style or a new, even if you want to do a flipped classroom or project-based learning, really whatever new thing you introduce, it is stepping out of the comfort zone. And at the beginning, it will be uncomfortable. Definitely. And there will be struggles, and there will be moments where we say, oh no, it was so much better before. It was just so much easier. And it's good to know, I think, it's important to know that that is to be expected. And that is not a sign that things are not going well. It's a sign that things are changing. But if you wanted a change, then it's a sign that you just have to stick with it a bit longer and see what happens. So it's definitely true.
You're so right. I really think we have created learning environments where we are afraid of making mistakes. And it's also about teachers. It's about the school principals. Everybody is afraid of making mistakes. And we want to get out of that. But if the teachers and the school principals not feel safe and secure to make mistakes and feel, not that comfortable all the time, how can the students? They walk the talk. And if we're going to change that, it starts with the school principal, it starts with the teachers, and then they set, the culture. And this is a learning environment. So we go to school not because we have to know everything. We go to school because we are going to learn. And it's for all of us. In this world, we cannot teach like we did for 20 years ago, because some students, they know much more about this subject than the teacher or even the school principal. So I think that's very important. Another thing is the problem sometimes is that we are too focused on the how to do things. And we forget sometimes to really focus on the why as well, because the why is the meaning, that's the motivation. The how is more the actions. And transformational leadership is very much about the why. Management is very much about the how.
And can I ask, what do you feel are signs that there is a good leadership, or that everyone feels safe and everyone is willing to try things? Because I do think it's terrifying that at school everyone is afraid of making mistakes, because we do know that making mistakes is part of the learning process. And if we are afraid of making a mistake, then the learning is so much, it's like you have a handbrake on your learning now, because you only want to do a tiny step at a time, just when you feel confident enough to do it. So what do you think is a sign that this culture is not there, that we are focusing on the why and that we are not afraid of making mistakes?
Well, first of all, I can see the teachers, if they are with shoulders up here and they are stressed and they don't have this extra, both to help each other, then I know it's not there. But, if they are in a hurry, but with a smile, and they are positive and help each other the best way they can, listen and all that, then I know it's always there's a lot to do. But if you come in, you can feel it right away, the energy, you can look at the people and you can see how they help each other. And it's not because the other places don't want to help each other, but the energy to do it is not there. They are exhausted. Because I think what really stresses us and where we get exhausted is most of the time is spent on problems and all the negative things. Then I know something is not wrong here. But it doesn't mean you don't have the same problems and challenges with the transformational leadership, but they are much better to focus on all the great things as well. So it's like, where do you put your focus? If you focus on the things that is working and develop that, some of the things that is not working is disappearing.
It's very, it all connects, no? The control, the creating the environment, the safe environment, making sure there is room for all of that. And I really hope that everyone who is watching and teachers that attend our course really embrace this uncomfortableness that
Yes.
comes from the change, because it's really powerful to do that. And by talking to you, it looks like that the key, let's say, takeaway of transformational leadership is that being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Can I ask you a bit more, because I recently attended a course about transformational leadership, and the thing I enjoyed the most learning was that there are different leadership styles, and there is not necessarily one that is better than another, but there are leadership styles that are better for you. So this was really inspiring for me to think about leaders and bosses that I've had. And sometimes I was like, oh, now I see, like, it's not that they weren't a good leader, is that they weren't a good leader for me in that moment. It wasn't what I needed. What type of leader are you, Peter?
I have a quote that I try to follow every time. A good leader makes people feel good about the leader. An excellent leader makes people feel good about themselves. So every time I try the best I can to make people feel good about themselves when they're together with me. So it's not about me, it's actually about them. And you need sometimes you need to do different things to end up with that result. So I cannot see that this is my favorite leadership style. It's definitely not management, but sometimes you have to be a manager. But my end result is always that the people feel good about themselves, because I know when they feel good about themselves, they want to be here, they love to be here, and I know they are some good followers, and I can follow them. So that's for me the way you have great leadership, but also great followers, because transformational leadership for me is also combined with good followers. So transformational leadership is so much about we and not very much about me.
It's for everyone.
Yes.
Yes. Is there something else you would like to add?
I could talk for ages about this, because I'm so passionate about this. Actually, I'm not that much for changing, I'm very much for balancing. I don't believe in that we are going to change the whole school system. I really believe that we are going to balance it. But to do that, we need transformational leadership. That's what, for me, total fundamental.
Good. I really hope that you are inspired to look into transformational leadership, because for me it has been a really, really interesting topic to explore with one of our courses. And I do think that everyone can benefit from it, because you are a leader in your class when you are a teacher, but also in your family. Sometimes you have to help the family go through a change. So it's really, really an enriching thing to reflect on. Thank you very much, Peter. It was a pleasure talking to you as always.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.